Hi guys, Greg here, and today we're just gonna plow straight on to the next episode of our Music of Super Mario Odyssey series. I actually posted the last episode on the Super Mario Odyssey subreddit amongst some other music theory kind of like subreddits, and everyone was really nice, so you know, thanks guys, that really made my heart feel warm. As always guys, if you found anything today interesting, you can thumbs up and comment on the video down below. Let me know what you like and didn't like, or if you didn't like it, just thumbs down it and then I know not to do what I did. So last episode we spoke about the use of modes in a musical sense and how they can give the effect of, you know, music from mystical exotic lands and such. This week we're in for a bit of a change of pace. Time to kick back, relax, and talk about how we can create blissful, laid-back sounding music of underwater environments through the use of digital effects and compound time signatures. Underwater levels.
I can't believe you've done this.
If that's not your instant reaction, then you're a braver gamer than I am. The thing about underwater levels that tends to get me right riled up is that when you're underwater in a game, much like in real life, everything becomes a lot slower. Moving through water is hard work, and when you're trying to collect something underwater or swim away from something that has a significant advantage over you being in water, things get stressful real quick. However, the slower pace, while frustrating from a gameplay standpoint, does bring with it some of the most relaxing and peaceful music in video games. I remember, and I feel like I make too many Super Mario 64 references, but you know, good game. Would recommend. I remember playing Super Mario 64 at a friend's house, and it had its very own water-themed level. There was something about the soundtrack of Diadox that I just found particularly mesmerising and almost hypnotic. A lot of the music that accompanies being underwater in video games relies on the fact that sound travels a lot more efficiently in water, which is why when you're submerged underwater, you suddenly feel like you've got super hearing. No? Just me? Sounds that you wouldn't have particularly registered above ground are now echoed all around you. Being released in the mid-90s, Super Mario 64's soundtrack benefited from digital effects being applied to its music. In Diadox, we probably have a combination of at least a couple of effects, one called reverb and the other called chorus. And this is an effect called chorus, not the thing that you sing half completely wrong words and the others doop-a-doop-a-doos to just because it's such a banger. So reverb gives the effect of putting any sound in a space by recreating the sound heard but as an echo. Think of singing in a big open field with nothing around you as singing with no reverb on, whereas singing the same in a large echoey cathedral as cranking your reverb up to 11. So here is an example of no reverb, and here is an example of lots of reverb. The other effect I mentioned, chorus, is used similarly in that it is also added to tracks to bulk them up, but it does this in a slightly different way. Reverb replicates the sound just a little bit later, whereas chorus replicates the sound and changes the pitch of it very, very slightly, so as to give the impression that there are more copies of the instrument playing at the same time. Electric guitar players are all guilty of owning a chorus pedal, which will be stamped upon at the slightest sign of a solo, and it's often used to thicken up guitar sounds. Here's probably all I'm allowed to play of an example of this. Stop! It's alright, no copyright police in sight. You can hear examples of these effects being used in tons of other water-themed levels in games. Donkey Kong Country has another beautiful example. But okay, these are post-production effects, and I'm getting more into like a music tech kind of analysis at this point. Aren't there any characteristics of the actual music itself that contribute to the watery feel? Why, thank you for asking. I think there are indeed. One of the cool things that Diadox does, and you'll find crops up in lots of other water music, is the use of arpeggios. Over the course of the previous few videos in this series, we've covered scales and the accompanying chord for each scale. A basic major chord is made up of the first, third, and fifth of the scale. If, instead of playing these pitches at the same time, we play them in a sequence instead, we have what's called an arpeggio. This kind of pattern is used in lots of video game water music, as kind of a representation of bubbles rising to the surface of water. And a great example is found in Diadox. We hear this repeated arpeggio figure in the bass line, which, fancy word of the vid incoming, you could actually call an ostinato figure. Ostinato just means the same rhythmic pattern, like repeating round and round and round in a piece of music. What's particularly cool about this phrase is that it slips in and out of intertwining with the main melody in a seamless transition. Jumping forward about 20 years then, and to Super Mario Odyssey, we can hear these same sort of arpeggios being used in Lake Lamode's soundtrack, this time on a harp, accompanied by some static chords that have the sort of reverb and chorus effects on them we spoke of earlier. Some of the perceptive watchers of you out there may have noticed, Greg, there seem to be a lot of notes in those bars of music, to which I'd say, you're very right, and thanks for the segue. Let's talk quickly about compound time signatures then, as this also adds to Lake Lamode's feeling of spaciousness. Every piece of music has a time signature, which sits at the start of the music, and this affects how beats in each bar are arranged and how a listener feels the music. So in music, you can think of a bar as a chunk of time. Most music is written in 4/4. The top number in a time signature tells us how many beats we have in each bar, and the bottom number tells us how long each beat is. So 4/4 means we have 4 crotchets, or 1 beat notes, in each bar. Think any rock music or disco track ever which makes you want to bop your head on each beat. We also have music in 3/4, and this means we have 3 one-beat notes in each bar. This time signature is used for a style of music and along with it dance called a waltz. 3 beats in a bar gives the music its stereotypical limp or uneven sounding character. Our ears like symmetry, and most music is in 4/4. As such, we're used to expecting the repetitive cycle of 4 beats in a bar, so when any piece of music in 3/4 comes waltzing along, quite literally, it throws your ear off a little bit, as we now have to wait an extra beat before another strong beat comes along. Take this waltz from Final Fantasy VIII. This is where things might get a little complicated. 4/4 and 3/4 are both what we call simple time signatures, because each of the beats of the bar can be split into 2 half beats, called quavers. So in 4/4 and 3/4, you can count each of those as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, etc. Or 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and... However, some time signatures, like the one used for Lake Lamode, can have each beat of the bar split into 3 beats, and these are called compound time signatures. Lake Lamode is in the time signature of 12/8. This means we now have 12 half-beat notes or quavers in a bar. We still feel the music of 12/8 in 4 beats, so that means we have 3 quavers in a beat. So now we're left with the feel of 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a... So that was a lot of numbers, I know, but this is useful from a composition kind of standpoint in that compound time signatures sound a lot less rigidly rhythmic, almost as if it's like skipping along. This is because we have a lot more time now within each beat. But whereas 4/4 is a time signature for strict marches or driving rock anthems, 12/8 gives a much looser, laid-back feel. So one final idea at play here that also has the aim of creating space comes a bit later in the piece, but this time, instead of being created through the use of rhythm, it's created with pitch selection. Up until the end of the first section, we've had a steady, what we'd call pedal tone in the bass. A pedal tone is called as such if it's sustained in one part, while other chords change around it. The pedal tone throughout the start of Lake Lamode is an F, in a similar range to the arpeggio figure. However, halfway through the first section we get a single F, an octave lower than what we've heard so far. And then a much lower in pitch A, a couple of bars before we move into the next section. This to me gives a dramatic effect of opening up the piece. By keeping the music entirely in a small pitch range for most of the introduction, the arrival of a big, beefy lower pitch is like revealing a whole new area to explore, much like the underwater kingdom we, as the player, get to experience. Well, I hope, like me, that somewhat helps your anxiety over playing water-themed levels in video games somewhat. What's the most memorable water level you've ever played, for good or bad reasons? I think next up in Super Mario Odyssey we have the Steam Gardens, which is cool. It's like a rock track. That's going to be a good one. And that's all we have for today, I think. Thanks everyone for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.